Thank you. Mr. Burlison, would you like to be recognized for 5 minutes?
Sure, thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Fabrizio, at one point I think in your testimony, you talked about that without federal privacy law, businesses and consumers are navigating a confusing state-by-state patchwork. And I couldn't agree more, but can you elaborate on what, by us not having some kind of standardized laws in place and really kind of open the door for one state to squelch this industry?
Well, yes, and more so, it's very harmful to businesses, especially small businesses or startups with a unique idea to try to figure out how to scale. It's very stifling to try to comply with many different state laws and to grow your market and to grow your product. And so that it can be discouraging, and that can discourage innovation, and that's not what we want to do here. We want to encourage innovation, and a federal privacy framework would help that, give some consistency and some clear guardrails and rules of the road so that our innovators can innovate.
Right. Do you think we need, in general, just more broadly speaking, privacy laws related to our own personal data?
Well, in terms of looking at a framework for privacy or for AI, it should be risk-based, and we should approach it that way. But I do think versus a patchwork approach that, again, companies just can't adhere to it. They can't, small companies can't afford big privacy law firms to support them. That gives the big companies a competitive advantage, boxes out small companies.
So with that being said, what would you like to see as a framework for setting wide sweeping federal law?
Yeah, so we would be looking for something that is tech neutral, that's preemptive, that it's one framework, and that it's risk based, and that it identifies those core categories, and it also removes liability for companies that are compliant, and that I think would really unlock and propel innovation, move us forward.
Interesting. I mean, you were speaking kind of esoterically or like a little bit philosophically there, but specific, can you think of specific rules or regulations that you would want to see implemented? I
would love to get back to you with specifics and have a further conversation about it.
I respect that. Thank you. Mr. Hammond, a lot of this debate is about what the values that we're going to teach this AI, which I find interesting that we can't even agree on what free speech means as humanity. How can we trust AI to determine, or how can we attribute or provide some kind of values to AI?
This is an unsolved problem as it stands. So right now, chatbots will adopt whatever value you put in. If you tell it to talk like a pirate, it will talk like a pirate. The question is, when these systems become more autonomous and acting on their own, how do they not just follow our values, but follow them reliably? And I think that's an area still of needed for further research.
Yeah, thank you. Because I'm touching back on the question I asked Ms. Fabrizio, which is that I think that the vulnerability for each one of us is that we're entering into an era where an AI can devour as much information about you as possible and weaponize that against you. And so that is something I think is a concern, and the question is, how do we protect people's rights? For example, every day I get annoying phone calls from people that want to know if I want to sell my rental homes. Every day. I had never signed up for anything. Somehow they know which homes I have, and they just always want to call me. I can only imagine how bad that's going to get, how much worse it's going to get. So, which is why I think we should be considering, on a federal level, having a tighter grip or control on the data about individuals, particularly important data, whether it's the electronic medical record. We may need to do something like what we did with HIPAA, or extend that beyond just your medical privacy. Dr. Lee, you're nodding your head.
I'm not in my head. We are way overdue in the United States for a national privacy standard that would actually dictate what goes into the machines, what comes out of it, in terms of what we consent to, not consent to, implicitly, as well as, you know, the ability of third parties to get a hold of that. You get calls about your rental property, I'm offered $100,000 every day through some type of voice clone. So I think that, alongside deep fakes, which actually only exploits the opportunities that you're talking about, we really do need federal privacy legislation to slow this down.
Thank you. I yield back.
All right, I'll now recognize Mr. Crane for 5 minutes.